and say, I'm Carla Renata, aka the Curvy Film Critic. This is my first time going live. You know, there's bound to be some hiccups here and there. Even though I tested everything out and practiced it ahead of time, I'm doing it by myself, so I'm bound to have some clunkers. So thank you so much for bearing with me. If this is your first time here, you can click the notifications on Facebook Live, Twitch, and YouTube. I go live every Sunday at 5 o'clock Pacific time, 8 Eastern, 7 Central. That is the situation. If you are not familiar with me, I am an actress and a film critic. I am on the #1 Superstore. I'm on the #1 sitcom on NBC called Superstore. I have a recurring role over there as Janet. I've been for the last 4 seasons. I also am a member of the African American Film Critics Association, the Online Association of Female Film Critics, the Critics' Choice Association, or the BFCA as they used to be called. I'm also a member of the Alliance of Women Female Journalists. Yeah, something like that. AWFJ. I always get their acronyms mixed up because there's so many of them. And you can catch me sometimes here in Los Angeles if you're based in LA on Fox 11 LA doing film pundit expert work there. And I write for Variety every once in a while. I do op-eds for Variety. I do op-eds for RogerEbert.com. I do op-eds for a variety of people. So you can catch all of my information there. I'm glad that I could see the chat room and so that y'all can tell me, because I would have just been talking and y'all wouldn't have seen nothing, and I would have thought I was just jamming all by myself. But this is what we're going to do today. I don't have any guests today. And so what I had planned to do for today is because it's James Baldwin's birthday. So I planned on doing a deep dive into the works of James Baldwin, whose books have been made into a few motion pictures here and there. I also wanted to talk about 2 documentaries, Immigration Nation and Stockton on My Mind, in addition to, we got to go in and talk about Miss Beyonce, honey, and Black is King. We got to break that down. So before we get into any of that, let's talk about the Emmy nominations that dropped this week. There were a plethora of them, and a whole bunch of Black people were nominated. We had some double nominations, so I won't go into the long list of everybody that was nominated, but I just have to acknowledge these people that got double nominations, because it's hard enough to get 1 nomination, let alone 2. If you're Black too, get out of here. So let's give a big ups and a shout out to Miss Tiffany Haddish. She got 2 nods for They Ready and for Black Mitzvah, her Netflix comedy special. Dave Chappelle got 2 nods for the Mark Twain special they did honoring him, and for his Netflix special, Sticks and Stones. Sterling K. Brown got 2 nods for his roles on The Marvelous Mrs. Maisel and This Is Us. Maya Rudolph got 3 nods, y'all. 3 for playing Senator Kamala Harris on Saturday Night Live. Let's see, who else? Angela Bassett got 2 for Black Lady Sketch Show. Oh, she got 3. I'm sorry. Angela Bassett got 3 for Black Lady Sketch Show, her voiceover work on the Imagineering Show, and FX American Horror Story. Wanda Sykes got 2 rather, for The Marvelous Maisel and her voiceover work on Gladys on Crank Yankers. And guys, check out those double nominees and everybody else that was nominated when the Emmys air on ABC, hosted by Jimmy Kimmel on September 20th. Hey, Michael B. Hi, Brandon. I'm so happy everybody can hear me and that this is going okay thus far after my little hiccup at the beginning. Now, I also wanted to tell y'all, so I said I'm an actress, in addition to being a film critic. And so I had a really interesting week this week where I found out that one of the films that I was in actually got but showed up on Netflix. It is the first full feature-length animation film to show up on Netflix, and it is called Latte and the Waterstone. So I wanted to just show you guys that so that you can see it. I hope can you see it? Let's see if you can see that. I don't know why it's not showing up now. Let me go here and see if it'll show up here. Nope, still not showing up. Okay. All right. Well, we'll figure this out eventually. I don't know why it's not showing up. But anyway, it's called Latte and the Magic Waterstone, and it's on Netflix. Okay, so check that out. Be on the lookout for the Emmy nominations. And here we go. There is a documentary that I talked about during the AFI Film Festival, AFI Docs Film Festival, called Rebuilding Paradise. And it was directed by Ron Howard. And I talked about it before, but now you guys can actually see it. It is now streaming on the Nat Geo channel, which is part of the whole Disney Plus package. So if you have Disney Plus, you have you have Nat Geo under there, and you can stream Rebuilding Paradise. Now, what is Rebuilding Paradise about? It's about this town. Yes, you've seen that on Netflix. Cool. Thank you, Brandon. What was I talking about? Rebuilding Paradise. Rebuilding Paradise is a film about this town in California. It's a 100-year-old mining town in California called Paradise. And wildfires spread here all the time, especially in the summertime. It's hot, it's dry, and a lot of fires happen. Well, this particular wildfire literally took this town out. It burned for over 18 hours. It took out over 200, I think it was over 18,000 acres as well. And people really had to just rebuild their life. Some people were born and raised there and literally, left the town because 8 out of the 9 schools were burned down. The town literally was burned down to the ground. There were a few streets here and there that were still there. But the most fascinating thing about that documentary that I saw was the first 10 minutes of it are absolutely riveting. In the first 10 minutes, you see a family, you get a bird's eye view of this family in the car trying to escape the town of Paradise while the fire is happening. And it is just, it's so heartbreaking. It's really heartbreaking. And it makes you realize just how fortunate we all are. Even though we are all living in a pandemic, we are still very fortunate to not to have had to go through that. Let's see here. What else is happening? Oh, yeah. So Immigration Nation. So let's talk a little bit about Immigration Nation. This docuseries will be streaming on Netflix as of tomorrow, August 3rd. Now, I don't know what you guys know about ICE. I don't know what you know about the Trump administration in regards to ICE, but this particular Netflix documentary is directed by Christina Clusial and Saul Schultz, and it breaks down the inner workings of ICE. I mean, the inner workings from all different vantage points, from the protesters to the people that treat it like it's a Nazi camp, to the people that have families and are a little more empathetic, and to those who are getting arrested and those who are doing the arresting. So I don't know if you guys know, but in 2003, ICE was established then, and there were only 8 units of ICE, 8 units of ICE people established then, or 8 ICE units established in 2003. Right now, we have 129 ICE units. It went from 8 in 2003 to 129 now. That's crazy. And the minute Donald Trump took office, he signed an executive order asking that 10,000 officers, 10,000 ICE officers be hired to help get people off the border. Because, he's had this hard on about immigrants and borders and walls and whatnot. And so that is the gist of this. But when I tell you, watching it, and it's a docuseries, so it's probably about 5 or 6 episodes, maybe more than that. And each episode deals with a different vantage point or a different issue that happens within the course of that whole situation. Y'all, I was crying because I could not imagine being a little girl and having my mommy or my daddy arrested and them pulling us apart, and me not knowing where they are, they not knowing where I am, and the fear and the uncertainty that lies around that. This docuseries wore me out. I had to, after 2 episodes, I had to kind of tap out because it was too emotional for me to watch. And I know, as a journalist and a film critic, I'm not supposed to be emotional, but as a journalist and a film critic, for me personally, if it doesn't touch my heart and it doesn't make me think, and I don't feel some kind of way, then in my opinion, the filmmakers haven't done their jobs. And I feel like Christina and Shaw have done more than adequately done their jobs with this particular docuseries. So it's called Immigration Nation, and it is going to be streaming on Netflix as of August 3rd. Now, and I should also add that on June 2018, because of all the different protests and rallies and things that happened that were against what Donald Trump was doing, he signed an executive order in 2018 ordering the edging of this practice of snatching people at the border. But, you know, as we still know, there's still some of that going on. So, you know, just put these people in your prayers, and put all Americans in your prayers, because we're going through it, y'all. We're going through it right now, and it is just a really tough way to be in these United States of America. Stockton on My Mind is a documentary that's streaming on HBO. It deals with this young man named Michael Tubbs. Now, Michael Tubbs is an anomaly, because statistics said that this was a young man who was supposed to be in prison. Statistics said that he was not supposed to be successful. Statistics said that he was not supposed to graduate from college or have any kind of future or have any kind of normal life as we label normal in America, right? But this young man had a father who has the same name as him, Michael Tubbs Sr., who was incarcerated. Why was he incarcerated? Because he was trying to do something for his family. He was trying to get help for his baby daughter, and in the process of that, ended up getting arrested. And because he didn't have adequate legal representation, he had the book thrown at him, and he is serving a really long sentence in jail. Michael's mother, as a result of this, ended up being a single mom, because at the time that this was going on, I think Michael might have been 7 or 8 years old. And so she had to raise him by herself. At the time, she was in high school. So she graduated from high school with a baby on her hip. And it was his life's long dream to watch another mother who had a dream like his mom to walk across a high school stage, whether she had a baby on her hip or not, and get an education. So he made sure that he went, so let me backtrack. He went to Stanford University, graduated. He's now a father. He's now a husband. He is now mayor of Stockton, California. He went and got his education and came back to his hometown to give back and to do whatever he could to make sure that his hometown had a fair shake and that the kids in his hometown had a fair shake. And it didn't help that he got some friends in high places like, you know, I don't know, Oprah Winfrey, Iyanla Vanzant, Common, President Obama. You know, he had all these people in his corner and they made a difference, but not everybody is as fortunate, and he knows that. So that's why he is putting his money where his mouth is. He established a fund in the city of Stockton, California, and people refer to it as free money. So it's basically a program where, you know, the average American, if you have a $400 emergency, most people can't even afford that. So he established a fund so that if somebody has an emergency that's $400, they can go to the city of Stockton, put in all this paperwork and get this money to handle their emergency, which is a blessing for a lot of people in that community. He also established Stockton scholarships so that everyone that is going to high school in that city has a fair chance to receive a 4-year education at an accredited university, because there is no 4-year university in Stockton, California. So there's that. And it's called Stockton on My Mind. It is streaming right now on HBO, and there's nothing extraordinarily different about the documentary, this biodoc, but what is extraordinary is the life of Michael Tubbs, and it's inspiring, and it's definitely worth a watch. And you can sit down and watch it with your family and your friends and inspire them. Thank you, Michael B. I'm glad you're going to add that to your list. Hello, Dolores Leach. It's so wonderful to see you here as well. Yay. And Brandon is telling me Transformers War for Cybertron Siege, which is also on Netflix. And he says that is awesome as well. So let me say that name again, because I know I butchered it. Transformers War for Cybertron Siege is also on Netflix, and check that out in addition to Latte and the Magic Waterstone. All right. Now let's get into what I said I wanted to talk about, a mini deep dive of the work and films of James Baldwin before we get into Queen Bee, Lady Beyonce. Now, I wanted to talk about James Baldwin because I know a lot of people that watch this show are not familiar with James Baldwin. And I remember specifically when If Beale Street Could Talk, another film that was made from a James Baldwin novel. A lot of people had never read that novel. A lot of people didn't know who James Baldwin was. Now, I know who James Baldwin is because it was part of my required reading when I was in school in St. Louis, Missouri. And then I learned even more about him as a college student at Howard University and at UCLA, where I did some post-grad work. Having said that, I want to tell y'all about some James Baldwin films that you may not be aware of, because we know about If Beale Street Could Talk. We know about I Am Not Your Negro, which is a documentary that was directed in 2016 by Raoul Peck and won a plethora of awards. What y'all may not know is about this one film that was based on a book that James Baldwin wrote called Go Tell It on the Mountain. Now, the book was written in 1953 and it was banned, like a lot of his books were. That book was banned, as well as, let me see, what was the other book of his that was banned? I wrote it down. I can't find it right now, though. Oh, Native Son. Native Son and Go Tell It on the Mountain were books that were banned for a variety of reasons. But Go Tell It on the Mountain is the journey of a Southern family that moves to a big city, i.e. Harlem, New York, and seeking both salvation and understanding. And there's a young boy that's struggling to earn the approval of a righteous and often unloving stepfather. It's a semi-autobiographical story of James Baldwin. Now, it stars, are you ready? Roll up your sleeves and get ready for this cast list because it's epic. The film starred, the 1984 film version starred Olivia Cole, who was in Roots, if you've ever seen Roots. Olivia Cole, Paul Winfield, who was in Sounder, Rosalind Cash, Ruby Dee, Linda Hopkins, who was a Tony winner on Broadway, Ving Rhames, Douglas Turner Ward, who was the founder of the Negro Ensemble Company, CCH Pounder, Alfre Woodard, Kadeem Hardison. All of these people are in this film, which was on television in 1984. It was a telepic, and it was directed by Stan Lathan, Sanaa Lathan's father. If you can find it, because I scoured the internet trying to find it, and I couldn't find it. If somebody finds it and tells me where it is, by the time I finish within the next 5 or 10 minutes, I'll be able to tell you where to find it. And if not, you can go to any of my social media and I will put it up there because it's an important piece to watch. And it's an important piece to be aware of. Now, it was banned in a Hudson Falls, New York school because they said that the book had recurring themes of rape, masturbation, violence, and degradation and degrading treatment of women. A lot of James Baldwin's books deal with those themes. But during that time that book was released, you have to remember this was 1953. So in 1953, Black people still couldn't go to the same bathrooms as white people. You couldn't ride a bus. You couldn't eat in a restaurant. The name of the movie and the book is called Go Tell It on the Mountain. Go Tell It on the Mountain. So that is what the name of it is. And yeah, it's amazing to me how prolific and important work like that are oftentimes shoved under the rug and we're not able to see them. But it's called Go Tell It on the Mountain. Now, another one of his that I know I mentioned I Am Not Your Negro, but check it out because that documentary is also based on a book, and you can find that just literally playing just about anywhere. I Am Not Your Negro. I also want to tell you guys while we're on the subject of James Baldwin, and in remembrance of Representative John Lewis, who passed away this week, one of the forefathers of the civil rights movement. I just want to tell you guys about a couple of other projects. One project that I interviewed some subjects for is called Whose Streets? WHOSE Streets. It's directed by Sabah Folion and Damon Davis. Damon Davis is from St. Louis, Missouri, specifically Ferguson. And this particular documentary gives a unflinching look at how the police killing of 18-year-old Mike Brown, remember him? So before George Floyd, there was Mike Brown and a plethora of other people. But just like with George Floyd, Mike Brown's death sparked a national and global movement as well. I highly, highly, highly suggest you take a look at that documentary, Whose Streets. I also suggest you take a look at Free Angela. Free Angela, it's called Free Angela and All Political Prisoners. It is a documentary that deals with Angela Davis. It was directed and written by Shola Lynch. It chronicles the life of Angela Davis from the time she was a young activist to her college years now. She is now a 76-year-old woman who is a professor emerita at University of California, Santa Cruz. And she's the author of over 10 books on class, feminism, and the United States prison system. So you should check. You can rent the movie. Okay, cool. Which movie on Amazon Prime, Michael B? Go Tell It on the Mountain of Free Angela. So that's Whose Streets and Free Angela. Two more that I want to talk about in association with Free Angela. There's a film called The House on Cocoa Road. It is directed and written by Damani Baker. Now, and it's been purchased by Array, Ava DuVernay's company. So you can probably find information about The House on Cocoa Road, COCO, on her site. Damani's mom, Fannie Houghton, had to escape America and move to another country during the time that all this stuff was happening with Angela Davis, and she helped hide Angela Davis's sister. Thank you. So Go Tell It on the Mountain is available for rent on Amazon Prime for $3. Thank you, Michael B. But The House on Cocoa Road, if you want to know more about that whole period of time dealing with Angela Davis, and this is why Angela Davis is popular, and this is why her name is so integral to the movement. Angela Davis was a social activist. She became a social activist mostly because there was a botched kidnapping that she was involved in. It ended up with a shootout, 4 people dead, and her name ended up on the FBI's most wanted list, top 10 most wanted list. Check out Free Angela so that you can learn more about her. And of course, this is another, and last but not least, this is another documentary that nobody ever talks about. We talk about Spike Lee here at the Curvy Critic all the time. I'm a huge fan of his work, a huge fan of his cinematography library. I think that the work that he does on film is so incredibly important. It gives Black people a voice, and it gives people who are not Black a glimpse into what it is like to be in our skin and feel and experience all these things that we feel and experience as a person of color in the United States. But another film that is right in line with the civil rights movement is a film called Four Little Girls. It's a documentary that Spike Lee made, very little known documentary. A lot of people don't talk about it, but it deals with notorious racial terrorism, domestic terrorism of an African-American church that was bombed during the civil rights movement, and 4 little girls lost their life during that particular event. So just to recap for you guys, those films are Whose Streets, Go Tell It on the Mountain, Free Angela, The House on Cocoa Road, and 4 Little Girls. Now let's get into Miss Beyonce, honey. So I love Beyonce, and I love Beyonce mostly because she's a Virgo, and I am too. So I love her for that. I love the fact that this new concept, this visual concept album that she did, Black is King, it was directed and produced and stars Beyonce. Now, that's not anything new. She did the same thing with Homecoming. She did the same thing with Lemonade. What is new is that she took the premise of The Lion King and turned it into a visual concept album using some little lines here and there from The Lion King. And y'all know how I feel about The Lion King. I talk about it all the time. So let's just deep dive into this really quickly. She has the entire Carter clan, Jay-Z, her mama, Miss Tina, Kelly Rowland, her best buddy from Destiny's Child. She's got Blue Ivy in there. She's got her twins in there. She has costumes that have been designed from all African American designers. Those clothes that she is wearing in this video are bananas, and they're gorgeous and unique looking, and they're just so yummy. One of my favorite ones is this scene that looks like a scene out of like Little Women, where all the little Black girls have on these pastel period dresses. It's so pretty. And then there's this other scene where they're all in this blood red, and they're speaking about the blood and dancing and doing these really intricate, difficult gang and African dances, which are just fabulous, and I loved every single moment of it. But Black is King is giving an homage to Black people during a time where Black people, our skin color, our integrity, who we are just innately as people, is being challenged on this earth. So this couldn't be more prolific and more timely, this particular visual concept album. Let me just point out that visual concept albums are not new. They've been done time and time and time again. Remember when Michael Jackson did Thriller? Remember when the rock group The Who did Tommy? Remember when Pink Floyd did theirs? Remember when Prince did Purple Rain? Purple Rain is a concept album. Remember when the Beatles did Hard Day's Night and made that into a film, and that was a big, huge cultural phenomenon at the time in the 60s. I think it was like 1964. So concept albums are not new, and the way that musical artists use concept albums are not new. What is new is the fact that the Black culture Black people around the globe are being educated to some extent about Black culture through a visual concept music video film. That's what's different. And I think that she does. Hi, Lord Bagel 78. I think that this is how she takes the time to honor who she is as a woman, honor who she is as a mother, honor who her mother is, honor what she's learned from her mother and father. Hi, Willem Schneider, and honoring how she is taking all of this to a whole new level while honoring the resilience of Black people, starting all the way down from Africa to hip hop to The Lion King. She shows her Spirit video. There's a couple of videos that she dropped prior to Black is King that she's now dropping with this one, Black is King. But when I tell you, it is cinematically the most beautiful thing I've ever seen. It was absolutely gorgeous. I'm waiting for Beyonce to do a feature film. I feel like Lemonade and Homecoming and Black is King is like the precursor to her directing a feature film. And I'm like, Beyonce, if you watching this, your girl is right over here. I'm just saying, hook a sister up. But I'm just saying, hook a sister up. But yeah, I thoroughly enjoyed it. Now, I'm not gonna lie. There were a couple of times during the course of this, like from the beginning to the middle, I was kind of there, and then they lost me for a second, but then I got right back in, and I was all about it. I love that she used all different types of music. I love the different primary color, the way her use of primary colors and pastels, and how she used the plains of Africa to inform and build out the scenes in which they were dancing, navigating in. It was absolutely just beautiful. It was a beautiful homage to Black people. And, if y'all are in the chat room, tell me what you think about it, because I loved it. William Schneider, 12345, who is watching via Twitch, says in the chat room, just want to say I apologize for my white privilege, and hopefully you get justice over there in USA for George Floyd. William Schneider, thank you for saying that. I hope that we get justice over here for George Floyd too. What country are you watching in? Let me know. And this is the thing. Most people that were privileged being white didn't know that they were privileged being white, because it was their everyday existence. They didn't know any different, just like you. So while I appreciate you apologizing, it's a process, and everybody is going to have to get to it in their own time. And yes, I do hope that we get to it sooner than later. You're in Germany. Oh, I've been to Germany. I love Germany. I love eating over there. It's good. So thank you for that. Thank you. And he asked, what would justice look like? Justice would look like everybody teaching and dealing and navigating and talking to and treating people like human beings, as opposed to approaching someone and making an assumption based on the color of their skin. It happens all the time. So that's, for me, in my opinion, that's what justice would look like. So that is it for this edition of the Curvy Critic with Carla Renata here at YouTube, Twitch, and Facebook Live. I'm sorry about my little hiccup at the beginning. You know, it's a process, child. I have to work it out. But I do appreciate that all of y'all took the time to join in and holler at a sister and say hello. I really do. I really appreciate it. And this is a process. I am usually over at Black Hollywood Live. Black Hollywood Live is taking the time to shut down for the summer because their engineers and their producers over there have been working really, really hard during this last 4 months of the pandemic. And they kind of needed a break. They were working nonstop, nearly, doing 16, 18-hour days. And so I know that I am, somewhat savvy and that I get to do this somehow on my own, and I'm getting better at it. It's a process. So probably by the time they go back up, I'll have it all together. Hi, Rob Lauderstein. It's good to see you too. But yeah, so I'm going to end the broadcast now. And what I would like to tell you guys is, again, if this is your first time watching me do this, please, please, please click the notification button, whether you are on Facebook Live, whether you are on Twitch, whether you are on YouTube, so that you know that I go live every Sunday at 5 o'clock Pacific time, 8 o'clock Eastern, 7 Central. And that's it. Now, I do have an interview with Russell Crowe that I have been holding on to for a couple of weeks because they keep pushing the film back. But as soon as they say it's all steam go, I will show you an interview that I have with Russell Crowe and Karen Pistorius from a film that's coming out called Unhinged. But until then, y'all, I just want to say bye. It's your girl, Carla Renata, a.k.a. The Curvy Film Critic. You can check all my written reviews at thecurvyfilmcritic.com. You can check my social media. It's everywhere, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. I am The Curvy Critic across all social media platforms. Of course, you can always come here live and talk to me and chat with me here on YouTube, Twitch, and Facebook every Sunday at 5 o'clock. So until then, y'all, I will catch you on the flip side. Love, peace, and hair grease. Bye.